Hello everybody, and welcome back. Today we will be learning about air plants, and as you can see I have 3 of them. So, air plants. Their scientific name is Tillandsia. They are in the bromeliad family. So this means that they are fairly closely related to plants such as pineapple, although of course bromeliads are famous for water storage, so they have a cup-like leaf structure, or some of them anyway, that will catch rainwater and store it as a little pool up in the tree canopy. Talansias are epiphytic, usually. Epiphytes for the most part, and epiphyte means that they grow upon other plants. So, as you may notice with this one here, it doesn't have a very large root system, and that's because the root system is not used for water storage or water collection, really. It's only used for holding on. So, roots only for support. In addition to finding them on trees, you can also find them on rock faces and shifting sands. This one's holding on to my glove for some reason. Get off. Of these 3 species that I have, this large one here is Talansia bergeri. This kind of red one is Talansia Capitada of version dominicensis. So this species is normally green, but the one from the Dominican Republic is red typically. And this one here is Talansia colby. So most Tillandsia are green year-round or gray, depending on how much sunlight they get. The green ones, I believe, tend to get a bit less. Green ones in darker areas. Their native range extends from the American South, to about mid South America. Their ability to live in the trees causes them to take a truly huge amount of biomass. So, Tillandsia make up much of the biomass. Where they occur, and one particular Talansia that at least most Americans and some people from, I believe, northern Mexico will have experience with is Spanish moss. So when you see little trees and stuff with stuff hanging down from them, you may see this is also in greenhouses, so like botanical gardens and other museums like that, as well as often on college campuses will have a bunch of this Spanish moss, which is actually a very, very stringy version of this that hangs down from the trees until it reaches the ground. This one is called Telencia Guzniotis. So, this also incidentally means that while the Spanish moss is called a moss, it's actually much more closely related to pineapples, as well as a lot of those colorful plants that you find in like big box stores and stuff. The grocery store bromeliads are used as a common ornamental. So, unfortunately, I don't have any Tillandsia that are flowering at the moment, but when they do, they will turn red throughout their leaves, and then the flower spike will come up from the middle. Tillandsia flower once in their life, and after that they will begin making little ones off the base, so just pretending that these were the same species, it would look like this, with a rather large clump of them, up until they finally reach a point where they can be broken off. It's also, I believe, worth noting that if you were to break the middle piece out of a Tillandsia, like if I were to cut this here, at least on some species, the bottom would begin making more growth points, and the top would eventually be able to put roots out. So you can clone them artificially that way. But due to their leaf arrangement, so they have rosetted leaves, their stems are quite short in the middle. This is a better example, actually, where you can see that the actual stem is pretty short. It can be quite hard to make that cut without damaging them. So the leaves are in a rosette. The leaves are considered lanceolate in most species. So lance-shaped rosetted leaves, small stems, and you may notice that they are somewhat silvery looking, at least in the most place, and this is actually their most interesting adaptation. So, if I were to put them on this plate here, then I can show you that if they get wet, they should change their color to be almost entirely green. At least in the areas that actually got wet. This one's a good example, so you can see the parts that stayed dry are still silver, but the parts that are wet are now completely red. And the reason they do this is because their means of water acquisition is through trichomes, which are their leaf hairs. So, leaf hairs are used to gather water. They will return to their typical coloration fairly quickly. Once they begin drying out again, they soak up the water quite quickly. And they really don't like to stay wet. So, I've gotten these back out of their small bath, I guess. And for the purposes of growing these plants, they really shouldn't be allowed to stay wet for very long because, once again, they live up in the trees, so while they are given water frequently by rain, they have a little bit of a problem where, as you can see, they still have a little cup area toward the middle between their leaves, and if water is to be put there too much, they will invariably begin growing fungus. So water pooling in here will cause them to lose leaves. If you notice, this one here doesn't have much of a base going on. That's not how it grows normally. That's because I had them in a terrarium where they were in contact with wet moss too much, and as a result lost the lower half of them. I've since fixed that problem, but it will be a few weeks before they begin growing roots again. So Tillandsias prefer medium bright light, but indirect. Indirect light. They typically prefer frequent but not too in-depth waterings, so using a spray can could work as well. Tillandsia do not to be wet for long. There are about 650 different kinds of them. 650 species of Tillandsia. Of these, only a few are relatively common in cultivation, so people will often put them in glass jars and stuff, but this isn't the best conditions for them, and I would recommend just putting them by a relatively warm window, and frequently, maybe once or twice a week, putting them in a bowl of water to soak, but they do not seem to like hard water very much. Do not like hard water, and this makes sense because in the wild they acquire most of their nutrition from capturing dust in the air. So that concludes the discussion of genus Tillandsia. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you'll join me for the next video, whenever that may be, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.